Have you ever felt trapped in a relationship or even within your own mind where something feels off, but you can't quite name it? Someone who can be warm and loving one moment, then cold or explosive the next. Or perhaps a quiet whisper inside you telling you that you're not quite yourself, like you're wearing a mask, living someone else's story, obeying invisible rules. What if I told you this isn't random, that beneath the surface of every person's psyche lie ancient, unconscious patterns, forces so powerful they shape your reality without you even knowing? Forces Carl Jung called the shadow. These shadows don't just haunt you alone, they play out in the people you attract, the conflicts you endure, the emotional storms you cannot control. What if the chaos in your life, the moments of pain, confusion, and doubt, are reflections of these hidden archetypes running wild? Today, we pull back the curtain on 6 of these psychological types, masks worn by the unconscious that sabotage relationships, destroy intimacy, and trap us in cycles of pain. Some of these types may live inside people you know, or even inside you. And here's the catch: understanding them doesn't just explain your suffering, it points to a way out, a way to reclaim your power, your peace, your true self. But beware, once you see these shadows clearly, you can't unsee them. Are you ready to step into the darkness and find your way beyond the shadow? Type 1, the manipulator. The manipulator is the silent puppeteer. They do not shout, they do not rage. Instead, they wrap you in a web of subtle neediness. At first, they seem vulnerable, shy, caring, maybe even broken. You want to help. You want to fix. But beneath this vulnerable mask lies a calculated hunger for control. They test your boundaries with small favors, gentle requests. A little ask here, a soft guilt trip there. Slowly, your empathy becomes their tool. Your kindness, a leash that tightens with every reluctant nod. Have you ever felt guilty for saying no, or second-guessed your instincts, thinking, maybe I'm the one being selfish? This is the manipulator's game. Carl Jung called this shadow projection. The manipulator refuses to see their own hunger for power, so they disown it and project it outward, pulling others into their shadow dance. They make you responsible for their emotions, their happiness, their chaos, and the more you try to help, the deeper you fall. This is not love, it is control disguised as need. Type 2, the idealist who disowns their darkness. Next, the idealist, the one who shines brightly in the room, the moral compass for everyone around them. They seem inspiring, uplifting, even holy. But this light can be blinding. Behind this idealized persona lies a desperate escape from their own darkness. They split the world in two, black and white, good and evil, firmly planting themselves on the side of good. To feel safe, they reject everything that threatens their perfect self-image: anger, envy, selfishness. But what they don't see is that this rejection is a form of denial. Jung called this inflation of the persona. When the mask of righteousness becomes so rigid, it becomes a prison, cutting off the wearer from their authentic self. These people do not grow, they perform. And anyone who threatens their perfect image, anyone who dares to be messy or flawed, is cast out. Because facing their own shadow would shatter everything they've built. Type 3, the moral controller. The moral controller is the prison warden of the soul. They don't just demand obedience. They insist your entire identity conform to their rigid ideal. You stop being yourself, spontaneous, messy, human, and start bending to a script that isn't yours. They confuse obedience with virtue. This dynamic is common in families, religions, rigid environments where rules are law and love is conditional. Jung warned. Excessive moralism threatens individuation, the journey to become your true self. Where there is moral tyranny, there is no room for self-knowledge. The moral controller doesn't want truth, they want control. And when they cannot dominate the outside world, they turn inward, controlling the minds and hearts of those closest to them. They don't ask questions, they demand allegiance. Living under their rule feels like slow suffocation. Your soul begins to shrink under the weight of their ideals. Type 4, the complexed. If the moral controller represses, the complexed explodes. This is the person ruled not by reason, but by unconscious wounds, emotional puppets pulled by strings they cannot see. Imagine living with someone who, one moment, is tender and loving, and the next is engulfed in rage, silence, or irrational accusations. To them, a compliment becomes a demand, a joke, a weapon. Affection is suspect. These are the effects of complexes, autonomous emotional clusters forged from trauma and unresolved pain. Jung described complexes as subpersonalities that hijack consciousness, causing people to react not to the present, but to echoes of the past, a complex of abandonment, betrayal, shame, waiting quietly until triggered, then erupting. The complexed person doesn't realize they're trapped. To them, their reactions feel justified, rational, real. But for those around them, life becomes a minefield. You adapt, shrink, walk on eggshells, all in an effort to keep the peace. But the monster isn't awakened by you, it's always there, waiting. And if you stay too long, you begin to lose your footing. You doubt your memory, your sanity, your sense of self. You start to become colonized by their unconscious. Type 5, the psychic vampire. Some predators do not roar, they whisper. They don't demand with force, they drain with need. The psychic vampire is not violent or loud. They are subtle, chronic, insidious. They appear soft, wounded, even lovable. But behind their gentle exterior is a hunger that never ends. They need your energy, your attention, your empathy. You organize your life around their moods. You anticipate their needs. You sacrifice your boundaries. They sigh, and you fix. They withdraw, and you chase. They suffer, and you sacrifice. But no matter how much you give, it is never enough. Jung described this as the unresolved symbiotic bond, where two psyches fuse so tightly, boundaries dissolve, and one feeds off the other's life force. Eventually, you find yourself empty, drained, faded, invisible. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. These 6 types are not strangers. They are parts of us. They are the shadow, fractured, denied, unintegrated parts of our own psyche. They are masks worn when we lose connection with ourselves. They hurt, they sabotage, they bind. But Jung gave us hope. The answer is not to fight or destroy the shadow, but to integrate it. The path of individuation is to face what we were trained to reject, to feel the pain we buried, to reclaim the power we handed away, to live from our center, not our wounds. This journey is not easy. It is deep, dark, and often lonely, but it is real, and it leads to freedom. Because when you own your darkness, it stops owning you. And finally, you belong to yourself. Welcome to the journey beyond the shadow.